Good news. That's real money, $800 million. Say the mayor's got a big grin on his face. Oh, you're pretty happy about that. Over the next few years, folks here expect to manufacture more transmissions than ever before. And as a result, hundreds of workers are back on the job. And Jeremy said we're going to be hiring more. This includes I'm going to name a couple people just to embarrass them a little bit. Where's Sharon Ibarra? Sharon here? Right here. Sharon lost her job of 20 years at a paper mill. She was only able to find work that paid her far less than her old job until she was hired by Chrysler. And now she is doing a great job right here at Chrysler. We're proud of you. Jim Farrow is here. Where's Jim? Jim's right next to her. Jim worked for Chrysler for a decade, right? Then he lost his job when the plant he worked at in Newcastle shut down. And over the next few years, he could only find intermittent work on and off. It wasn't until after the restructuring that he was able to have a job he could count on. He is back at work now for more than a year doing outstanding jobs, making great products here at Chrysler. So. At a plant down the road, workers are manufacturing parts for hybrid vehicles. That's already led to dozens of jobs and will lead to nearly 200 jobs over the next few years. A few miles outside of Kokomo in Tipton, a clean energy company called Abound is going to be able to hire 900 workers, taking over a plant that had to shut down a few years ago. So a factory that was empty and dark will come back to life. And when people have a paycheck, as Joe said, they can go to the store, they're able to spend. That helps the economy grow. And so on Main Street in Kokomo, we're seeing a revival with new businesses opening downtown. So for anybody who says our country's best days are behind us, anybody who would doubt our prospects for the future, anybody who doesn't believe in the Midwest, anybody who doesn't believe in manufacturing, have them come to Kokomo. Have them come to Kokomo. Come here. Meet these workers. Visit these plants. Come back to this city that's fighting block by block, business by business, job by job. This is a reminder of what we do as Americans, what we can do as Americans when we come together. We're not divided. We're not spending all our time bickering, but instead focusing on getting the job done. We don't give up. We don't turn back. We fight for our future. And no, we're not out of the woods yet. It took a lot of years to get us into this mess. It'll take longer than anybody would like to get us out. But I want everybody to be absolutely clear. We are moving in the right direction. We learned today that the economy is growing at a faster pace than we previously thought. That's welcome news. But we're going to keep on making it grow faster. We're going to keep on creating more jobs. We need to do everything we can to make that happen. That's why in the coming days, it is so important. In the coming months, it's so important. The Democrats and Republicans work together to speed up our recovery. We've got to put aside our differences. The election's over. We've got to find places where we can agree. We've got to remember the most important contest we face, it's not between Democrats and Republicans. It's between America and our economic competitors. Other nations are already making investments. Other nations are making investments in education, energy, and infrastructure, technology. because they know that's how they're going to be able to attract the new jobs of the future. And throughout our history, Democrats and Republicans have agreed on making these investments. If we don't want to cede our economic leadership to nations like China, we've got to do the same today. We've got to make sure our workers have the skills and the training to compete with any workers in the world. We should give our businesses more incentive to invest in research and innovation that leads to new jobs and new products and new industries like the ones we're seeing here in Kokomo. We should make it easier, not harder, for middle-class families to get ahead. I'll give you an example on taxes. Next year, taxes are set to go up for middle-class families unless Congress acts. If we don't act by the end of the year, a typical middle-class family will wake up on January 1st to a tax increase of $3,000 per year. So in the next few weeks, I'm asking Congress to take up this issue. The last thing we can afford to do right now is raise taxes on middle-class families. If we allow these taxes to go up, the result would be that a lot of people most likely would spend less, and that means that the economy would grow less. So we ought to resolve this issue in the next couple of weeks. So you've got the assurance that, your taxes won't go up when the clock strikes midnight. Now, this is actually an area where Democrats and Republicans agree. The only place where we disagree is whether we can afford to also borrow $700 billion to pay for an extra tax cut for the wealthiest Americans, for millionaires and billionaires. I don't think we can afford it right now, not when we are going to have to make some tough decisions to rein in our deficits. That's going to require sacrifice from all Americans, including those who can most afford it. So I'm eager to sit down with leaders from both parties next week and to hammer this out, but we need to hammer it out. Long before transmissions were coming off the line at this plant, and by the way, you look at these transmissions today, and somebody 20 years ago or 10 years ago might not recognize them. They're amazing. Before Henry Ford built the Model T, or Walter Chrysler took up the reins at a startup called Buick, a man by the name of Elwood Haynes decided to do a little experiment right here in Kokomo. Right? He set up a 1-horsepower boat engine on his kitchen. He bolted it to the ground. His idea was that he might be able to rig the motor to a carriage. So he starts it up, and the engine worked great. In fact, it worked so well that it came loose from the bolts and destroyed the kitchen floor. And after a brief and what I imagine was a difficult conversation with his wife, Elwood decided to continue his tests in his machine shop, and he toiled for months. But when he was finished, he had completed one of the earliest working automobiles ever built in America, and he named it the Pioneer. So Kokomo has a storied place in our history. This is a city where people came to invent things and to build things, to make things here in America, to work hard in the hopes of producing something of value and something that people could be proud of. That's the legacy of all of you. You are all heirs to that tradition right here at this plant. That's the legacy that has made this country the envy of the world. And I'm absolutely convinced this legacy is one you will continue to uphold for years and decades to come. Congratulations, Chrysler. Congratulations, Kokomo. Proud of you.